Good morning, Africa. Good morning, African Confessions. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello, my brother. Can you please post for me? I once dated a guy who had this walking stick. What this guy did is that he would walk with me at night in town. Me and him, we were staying in town in a townhouse, but at night he would say, "Come with me." Then he would drive with me to the CBD here in Joburg, and then we would park his car anywhere. At first, when he would say, "Come with me, let us drive to town," when we were in town, he would say, "Let us get out of the car." I would refuse at first to get out of the car because I was afraid. I would say to him, "What about the Nyaupe boys?" And he would be saying, "No, do not worry, because I am God. No one can touch me." Even if we go to a hotspot crime area, he just park his car. Sometimes he can even leave the laptop inside and no one will touch the car. Sometimes without even locking his car at the hotspot where cars are hijacked, but no one will touch his car. When we were in the CBD at night, he will say, "Let us choose 5 shops." So we would walk around the CBD and we would just tap on the security gate of the shop. Then we will go to the next shop until we finish all the 5 shops. You will be tapping the security gate of the shops that you would have chosen with his walking sticks. When we drive back home, you will always have money with him. This money, I don't know where it was appearing from, but this money, it will be inside a big pot, the ones that they use to cook at functions. He always keep this pot at the back room of his house. I stayed with him, but in 2 years that I stayed with him, when I count, I had 4 miscarriages. I carried 4 of his pregnancies, but I was never able to touch any of those babies in my arms. All of them, they just ended in miscarriages. And my mother was now worried because of my health. She said that it is not okay for you to keep on having these miscarriages. 2 years and you have 4 miscarriages. It is a lot, because I was losing too much blood. Whenever I would fall pregnant, I would start bleeding and I'll get thin because I'll be losing too much blood. And the problem that my mother was having with me carrying all of these pregnancies that were resulting in miscarriages, it was because of my boyfriend. Whenever I would fall pregnant, my boyfriend would develop this character like he didn't care for me. But when I'll be having a miscarriage, that is when he will start caring for me. What will happen is that whenever I would fall pregnant, from the moment that I would buy a test kit to test myself if I was pregnant, if I tell him that I am pregnant, let us go to the hospital because last time I had a miscarriage, he will say that he doesn't believe in going to the hospital. He will just refuse. He will say that no, everything is going to be okay. You are going to carry this pregnancy and you are going to deliver a baby, and he will just refuse like that. Always he refuses, Brother Nashi. My first pregnancy, the first one, when I fell pregnant for him, I lost that baby at 4 months, and it pains me the most. Even today, I still feel pain in my heart because I lost that baby at 4 months. But after that, I was never able to reach 4 months in pregnancy. Sometimes I would just find out that I am pregnant like today. Then the next morning, I'll start bleeding, like heavy bleeding. You know, when you are on your periods, when you are doing that heavy bleeding, that is what will happen soon after finding out that I am pregnant. Sometimes I'll just lose the baby at 2 months, but never 4 months. I only lost the baby once at 4 months. I started to feel pain. This was around 2 p.m. when I started to feel pelvic pain. When I saw that I was feeling pain, I was scared. I didn't want to lose this baby because this was my first pregnancy. I called him, and I remember that the time when I called him at 2 p.m. telling him that I was feeling this pelvic pains, and I told him that I wanted to take money because in his house there was money everywhere and there were bank cards everywhere. So I knew that there was money for me to go to the private clinic so that they can see what was wrong with my baby. I didn't want to lose my baby at all. When I called him telling him that I wanted to take some of the money that was in his safe so that I can go to the clinic, he refused and he was angry over the phone. He just said to me, if you touch the money that is in my house, you are going to die. So I didn't understand what he meant when he said that you are going to die when you touch the money, because I was afraid that maybe he was going to kill me, since he had threatened me that if you touch my money, you are going to die. Do not go to the hospital. You have to wait for me until I returned back home. I was stressed on that day, so I got out of the house. I just wanted some fresh air. As I was walking out of the house, when I got into the garage, I was so stressed out and I was feeling weak because of the severe pelvic pain that I was feeling. I just said to myself, let me just wait for him. I remember, Brother Nashi, that I went into the garage and I just sat next to this car that was always parked in his garage. He never drove that car ever since I started dating him. As I was sitting right next to that car, Brother Nashi, I remember that I suddenly saw a snake. This snake was so big, it looked like it was a python. But why a snake like this in this neighborhood? Because the place where we were staying, there was no bush, there was no forest. It's right there in the middle of town. You know those townhouses. I don't even remember seeing a bush, but I saw a very big snake underneath that car. Even though I was feeling so weak because of the pain that I was feeling at that time, I just gathered all of the strength that was left inside of my body. I said, let me try to run away from this house. Why am I seeing a snake right now when I am feeling all of this pain? And this guy said that if I touch his money, maybe I can die. So I gathered all of my strength. Then I returned back into the house. I walked upstairs, but to my surprise, when I finally walked upstairs, when I got into the bedroom to pack my clothes, this guy, he was already in the bedroom, but I don't know how he got there in the bedroom. I started to cry because I just wanted this to be over. I wanted to go home. I cried. I said, please take me home. I just want to go home to my mom. Please take me home. But I was also feeling pelvic pain and he refused. Now it was around 10 p.m. when I was crying, telling him that I wanted to go back home. That is when I had the miscarriage around 10 p.m. This guy, what he did, he just went into the toilet. There was this small bucket that I used when I was cleaning the toilet. He just returned back from the bathroom with that small bucket and he handed me that small bucket and he said to me, do it in that small bucket. So I just sat on top of that bucket. The baby just fell into the bucket. But when the baby fell into the bucket, it was already dead. He said to me, do not look in there. When he heard that there was a sound, meaning that the baby had fallen into that bucket, he just took the bucket. But when he went downstairs, that is when I heard that there was another car and there was a sound of a car in his garage. I thought that maybe it was an ambulance, so I forced my body downstairs and I wanted to see if it was the ambulance because I was in pain. As I was struggling to walk towards the garage, that is when I heard that he was speaking with other people, but they were not from here because my boyfriend was using English to speak with these people that were in the garage. He came back and he took me to the bedroom. This was around 3 a.m. and he said, let us pray. I was confused because I was in pain and he had refused to go with me to the clinic. I don't know why he suddenly said, let us pray, but I had no choice. I just slept right next to him as he was kneeling down and he was praying. After that, I kept having miscarriages, and whenever I would have another miscarriage, You would always refuse to go to check up with me. But this guy, he is a rich one. I once had a miscarriage. This happened when we were at Durban, July. And when I told him that I am feeling pain, I think I am having another miscarriage, he said, we can't go to the hospital right now. Just go to the car. He gave me the car keys and he said, sleep in the car. I'll be back. He just bought pads for me. This happened until my mother rescued me. This happened when I was 21 at that time, when I leave his house. Now I am still recovering, but I am scared to tell my family my secret. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received from that young girl. Strange things are happening. Please let us talk about this issue in the comment section. I'll be back with another episode.